Hey up everybody, and welcome to the Ow Do Velogames Podcast. This is our first episode where we are going to be looking at the Tour Down Under. This is going to be very similar to if people out there watched the long format videos that I did for the Grand Tours last year. It's going to be very similar to that, except that I'm going to have actual people to talk to rather than just talking to myself all the whole time. We now have our group of Velogames fanatics here to discuss it with me, so this is going to make it a lot easier to go through this. But we're going to start off by looking at the profiles of the race, and then we're going to jump onto Velogames, pull up the rider list, and we're going to have a bit of a discussion as to who we all want to be picking onto our teams. They're looking at stage 1, this 1 category 4 climb here, but I think we're all expecting this to probably be for the sprinters, considering that the climb, Mengler's Hill, is 2.1 kilometers at an average of 3.7%. Do we agree with that? Do we think it's going to be a sprint?
Probably. Yeah, it's not hard enough to produce it.
It's likely to be. I can't imagine it not being a sprint.
Stage 2, we've got one climb in here which is pretty difficult, which is the Fox Creek climb. 1.6 kilometers long at 8.1%. Fox Creek, this seems to be the stage which there is a bit of deliberation as to what people think will happen. Some people think it will be a sprint. Some think that maybe it'll be a bit like the Victor Harbour last year, which Rowan Dennis won. How do you guys see this happening? Do you think that it'll be a sprint, or do you think a group of GC riders might make it to the finish?
I don't think it's going to be a pure sprint, but we might see some versatile sprinters there. But I'm expecting someone like Covey, Cortina, Germay. I need to include this man in the fight, Morgado. Look up for him. He's gonna be there. He's gonna show his skills, and he's gonna make the Portuguese audience proud. But I think it's gonna be a mix of some sprinters that can do a bit of a climbing effort, and some punchers. I don't see like the pure GC guys doing it.
I just don't think it's that hard. Like, I mean, I might be putting a bit of early season sort of bias on the profile, but I feel like Jayco are just going to shut anything down because they've got a perfect team to control it, and Ewan will probably win anyway. But I'm not sure someone like Welsford's getting dropped unless he's Aussie. He should be fit and ready to go for it. I've already had a debate on Twitter as to whether it's a sprint stage or not. I'm yet to be convinced that it's not a sprint stage, but it could be punchy.
There's got to be teams with punchy sprinters like Intermarché with Gamay or Corbin Strong for Israel, who will be pretty keen to get the Bauhauses and Welsfords of the world out the back. So I see it being as quite a reduced sprint.
It also depends on how far it is to the finish as well, because if they've got time to get back, it kind of doesn't matter how hard they hammer it.
Yeah, I think it's about, I want to say it's about 13 Ks or something to the finish line.
Going back to stage 2, the one that have the cards in hand is Jayco Alula. For the past year, we haven't seen the best of Caleb 1. We've seen him drop on the long mountains and everything, but don't forget, this guy can climb. And 1.6 kilometer, he can get over it. And I think Jayco might just do that. Ride at a pace that's comfortable with Caleb, and they might try to get rid of the heavier sprinters. And in case someone like more punchier just go try on his solo attack, I think they will have guys like Simon Yates or Luke Plapp or Chris Hopper who will follow and take a solo victory or reduce punch. So I think it's basically down to Jayco.
Stage 3 looks like a pretty set-on sprint, especially since there's probably, I think this has just got very little climbing in the whole day, very little altitude gained. So I think this is pretty set on to be a sprint stage, especially since you've only got like one category 3 and one category 4 in there.
Stage 4 it's fairly flat. There's one small category climb in the second half, but it feels again like it's a sprint.
Yeah. And then stage 5, we've got 2 ascents of Willunga Hill. The current king of Willunga Hill, who is Matt Holmes, is not in this race. You guys again seeing like Simon Yates pretty much as like the main man to beat. Do you think anybody can get close to him?
I think Onley can get close to him. I'm
Mhm.
not sure what version of Alaphilippe we see, but
Mhm.
it also depends on Plapp, I think, because again, it's Jayco's to ride because they've got Simon Yates, but if they're setting pace and it's just not hard enough, if there's a headwind or whatever, then it suits a sort of stronger rider. But I mean, Plapp might go for it. I don't know if it's long enough for Simon Yates to actually, if this doesn't sound too ridiculous, win a sprint at the top, if there's just a whole group of them going to the top.
Any other names which are springing to mind before we go on to stage 6?
I guess that's it. It's going to be between Yates, Onley, Zimmerman, Guerreiro.
And then lastly, stage 6, Mount Lofty. We saw this last year. Simon Yates won ahead of Jay Vine and Peo Bilbao, I believe. But the time gaps weren't massive on that day because only 6 seconds behind was the sort of bigger group containing Sven-Erik Bistrom, who was on an absolute flyer last year, and Magnus Sheffield was in there. I think Milan Varda. Is it Varda or Vader?
I'm going to go Varda because he's Dutch.
Yeah.
Also, it sounds weird saying Milan Vader because of the obvious Vader association.
Yeah, I always thought that as well. Okay, cool. So Jayco could definitely play a numbers game here. I don't think many other teams have the kind of multiple leaders here, so I think that it'll be interesting to see how they play that.
The way the stages are ordered is quite interesting because I don't think we've ever not finished with the Wollonga Hill stage because it's always been Mount Lofty into Wollonga. So it's kind of been sort of, it's going to be decided on Wollonga before, whereas now we've got the Wollonga stage before, obviously this bonus seconds, and then we've got this Mount Lofty stage. And I mean, it's going to be Jayco with their numbers, but it could be absolute fireworks because of how it's going to be ordered up Wollonga Hill.
Now we're actually on Velogames, we'll take a look at the rider prices. Simon Yates at 26 credits. Are you guys tempted to pick him, or is he in your current team?
He wasn't in my first team until I saw your video, because I had a sprinter heavy squad because I was predicting there'd be 4 sprints, but I've still managed to make quite a balanced team even with Simon Yates in it. I've just had to put 3 spots down to 4. So I'm going off of what you said that it might be worth it, but he's very expensive. I don't like that.
I believe he's totally worth it because I believe he's going to be the highest scorer. And I don't see anyone but him taking the win. So as much as I would like to leave him out because of his price, I don't think I can. And I found a way to make it work, I guess, with the sprinters I wanted and some other GC candidate that will probably be on the podium. If you can get Yates and if he wins, and you can get like Onley or Guerreiro and they manage to get on the podium, that will be worth it, I believe.
What about you, Irfan? Is he in your team?
Never ever did. But I don't know. I can't see any other option other than him. If I can fit him, yes, but I'm not going out of my way to fit him because I've always had bad experience with him, and I didn't take him for the Tour de France, and he was just at 10 points. I regretted it, but at 26, I'm not going for him unless like I can find a way to fit him, but not at the moment.
I just don't see anyone that's equal to on his climbing. I don't see anyone else on the start list that's even close to him.
Yeah, I just always think, I mean, we'll get to these guys later, but it's always these guys, isn't it? It's the kind of 12 and 10 point riders who just throw up the big surprises.
I mean, in terms of the 12s that I've got Onley, and I'm thinking about Harper for the assists of Ewan and Simon Yates.
That's a good one, Harper, yes.
But I never liked picking Harper. Like even at Emilia last year, he was in that favourites group because he was looking after Simon Yates. But for some reason, he's just not a fun pick to me because he's never going to win.
What if, hypothetically, he's actually the kind of second man? Like, what if Plapp's the first rider who's get used on a climb, and then it's Harper, and then it's Yates, and then
we've seen the trident. You talked about the trident that. What was the other trident you talked about? There were 3 riders. It was Israel Premier Tech team with Stevie Williams, Nicholas Schultz, and George Bennett.
Yeah.
Now that's fine to a certain extent because you could just pick one and it's not too high risk. But with Jayco, if they got Yates, Plapp, and Harper, theoretically you could pick all three of them because it works in the price structure. But I think if you go with Yates, there's no point really picking Plapp or Harper.
Yeah, I agree, because I think if you pick all three of them, I don't think you're winning the competition, which is what we're all here to do, because I think that one of them will score well and the other two will suffer. And you can hedge your bets on one of them and maybe you get it right. But it's all, if you go with all three, I think it's safe, but it's the warm-up series. People just, throw a bit of caution to the wind.
Well, now we always talk about picking the Antipodeans, the down under people. That might be a perfect reason just to pick Jack Haig because he's probably flying.
Yeah, exactly. Mate.
And he's honestly in a GT, he'd probably be the same price as Simon Yates. So,
Yeah, I do. It's always kind of the inflation of the favourite, like that their price goes up a lot because they are the favourite. But in reality, how many points do you guys think Simon Yates will score? Somewhere between 600 to 700-ish.
Well, he's probably going to win the Wollonga stage.
Okay.
But I think there's a 50% chance he wins the Lofty stage as well.
Yeah.
So that's what 2 days worth of GC points plus the overall GC.
Yeah.
So it's just whether having someone cheaper, like not necessarily Alaphilippe, but just packing it with Haig, Onley, Guerrero, is going to work out better, and then you can also then get sprinters you want as well.
Yeah, exactly.
We can forget that he'll most likely get assist points from Ewan.
Yeah,
right. That will be.
Does anyone have preferences over sprinters?
Yeah. Ewan.
Other than Ewan.
Corbin's strong.
Yeah, Corbin's strong for me. I think it's because he's more of a certainty to make stage 2.
And I think I need to check it again. This faction. I think he's only sprinter in little track.
Is he 6 credits?
Yes.
Yeah,
way down.
There you go.
Like we need to check if there's no other guys. I think he's only sprinter.
It's kind of hard. Yeah, because I find them hard because they've also got that Vacek.
Vacek, he's pretty strong. He's like a time trial specialist.
And there's Quinn Simons, Muscar, Molema, and
Simmons has got a good sprint on him in a reduced group.
Yeah. So it's just hard to tell who they'll go with. I think Tesfatsion's the low risk kind of good option.
I think Tesfatsion's also hasn't he got form for going in breakaways at TDU as well?
I think he went on a breakaway yesterday.
Him and Girmay usually, not saying the Africans specifically, but those types of riders that go in breakaways. Dan Maclay.
I think he's 8.
8?
Yeah. 8 credits.
Yeah. Well, he came top 10 at Tour Down Under Classic, didn't he?
That's true. Yeah, he did.
And for the first time in a while, there's no other sprinters on Arkea. They've got about 17 of them.
Yeah.
It's either him or him. So why not?
In homage to John, who's not in the call anymore, he would be talking about Emil's Liepens, of course.
DSM are so hard to predict. Like sometimes they'll have 4 or 5 sprinters in there, and it's even worse. But in this case, you've got Liepens and Bittner. And Bittner, I remember because it hurt me. Algarve last year, I think he came like 5th or 6th behind Tom Pidcock in the first sprint or the second sprint. And he's just the kind of guy who he's always cheap, and he just seems to always appear in the top 10 in these smaller World Tour races.
Yeah, completely agree. What about other sprinters? One person who always has good reputation here, Bauhaus, he always does well in Down Under, doesn't he? But is he going to make that stage 2 finish? Is he good enough at climbing for that? But there's something about the chaotic sprints that Bauhaus is really good at. Don't know why.
I mean, stage 1, I don't see it being chaotic. I've seen the roads leading to the finish. Stage 1 is definitely not chaotic, and stage 3 or 4. There's one with it's a bit sketchy. The road isn't super wide, but it's a long straight. So
I think it also depends on the lead outs, because Bahrain
it's gonna be huge. So I don't think
Bahrain really haven't got many people.
Like
they've got Price Peterson.
no,
and I'm not even going to try the Croatian guy's name, but they're a little bit like. I mean, you're going to be looking at Jayco, Ineos, because they've got Ghana and Tarling, DSM, Bora. It's just going to be who's. For picking my sprinters, it's who's got the best lead out train, to be honest, because it seems to be always about positioning rather than who's fastest.
Yeah, I think, I know I mentioned it in my preview, but Viviani, I think, is really good at 10 credits when you consider that he had a good resurgence at the end of 2023, because he won a stage of Agreed Tour of Huangxi, which some people don't care about, which is completely fair because it's in like October and a lot of people have mentally left the season by that point. But that was a pretty stacked sprint field. And like you say, with Harling and Ghana, who between them are worth at least 3 people, plus Ben Swift, they don't really have a pure GC climber guy here. Never got Laurens de Ploos, but
I was going to say de Ploos, but they're all not all in, but their target is Viviani. But as you said with Guangxi, those sprints were so chaotic. Even with the head-on camera, you didn't know who was going to win until literally you saw the person raise their hand. So just having, I think you can say about Bora probably have the best train with Van Poppel and Mullen. But with Ghana and Tarling, that gives Viviani a huge advantage if he's at the front in the last K.
Okay.
Is Viviani gonna lead out Ghana?
I'll imagine. Oh, I just throw it away. I just close the website if that happened.
Yeah.
For goodness, now you put that thought in my head. That's really annoying. Ghana's sprinting, isn't he?
Yeah.
No, he can't do.
He is.
Carling's sprinting. How about that?
What surprised me?
Viviani has to lead him out. But now, seriously, it's going to be interesting to see what Ineos does on the sprints. But my money would be on Ghana.
Who are your joker picks, Paddy?
My joker picks. I'm trying to think about. You know what? I'll just reveal who's on my team. If somebody's picking a 4-pointer who's not Archie Ryan, that is insane. And I think
you say that. I didn't think to pick him until you mentioned it. So I just completely forgot that he was on Jumbo.
I was scrolling down the list and I was like, oh my word, he's 4 points. It is very much like I said in my video when Van Savenant was 4 credits in Basque Country 2 years ago, and he finished 12th in GC. The bar is just very low for 4 credit riders. If he finishes top 15 GC, he's probably going to be worth it.
Well, that's why I don't usually, because I'm not a fan of any particular team, I'm not usually emotionally attached to anyone. But as we're there at the bottom in the 4s, I had to pick Jack Rutkin-Gray, the St. Piran alumni. So I just want to see him go well, mainly because it's his first race in World Tour, having stepped up from British Continental. So, I don't even know what he'll be trying to do, whether he'll be sent in the breakaways or whether he's going to be just helping Archie out, or whether Archie will be helping him out as the Neo Pro in the World Tour. But I'm just excited to see what he does.
Yeah, from ES press release, it seems that I couldn't figure out who they're working for. Everybody was just saying, I'm really excited to start the season.
Well, it's like Betiol winning the prologue last year. I swear, it's just, we'll see how we go. And then actually someone's flying.
Yeah. What do you think, Irfan? Who's your favourite 4 credit rider? Is it Archie Ryan or is it somebody else?
To be honest, I can't find anyone in the 4 credit riders. But I want to confirm something with you. What do you guys think Quick Step is going to come here with? Who's the sprinter?
Well, Paddy mentioned, was it Hilders, who came top 10 at the Classic the other day? But honestly, going off of just the experience in the team and I don't think it wasn't a Velogames game last year, but from Tour of Denmark, Kasper Pedersen was sprinting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what price he is because I haven't looked for him. But they've got Cherney, they've got Seri, and whoever this Antoine Hubi guy. So, Pedersen screams at me that he's going to be sprinting. I just don't know if he's going to be able to fit in.
Yeah, I'm trying to find him. Is he 6 credits?
Can't be 6. No, he's not. Is he going to be 4?
I think it's 4.
That might be a steal.
Yeah, he's 4. G.
It's for Pedersen.
No,
Pedersen.
No, Pedersen or Gilgadders.
I could have sworn he was 8 credits, but I feel like I've just lost him in the fray.
Oh, there he is, 10 credits. Yeah,
Oh,
okay, so he's been priced the same as Viviani. Yeah, that's not worth it. Unfortunately, sorry, Casper.
Yeah, I can understand what Pedro was saying about Ghana sprinting, but why would they bring Viviani here? Otherwise?
And I see 2 guys, Max Kanter and Ivan Garcia Cortina at 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have Kanter in my first draft. That Astana, other than for their Tour de France team, Astana and lead out trains just like, fair enough, Kanter didn't have much of a lead out at Movistar either, but he was always working with Garcia Cortina or Gaviria, so it was like okay for positioning. But I mean, he's got Selig and Gazzoli's here, who did really well at Arctic Race in Norway. He's punchy, so Gazzoli probably will be more their guy for stage 2. But I mean, yeah, Kanter's fine, I think, for 10.
What about Piffy for Groupama? Because he finished.
He's fine, I think. Like, I don't think he's a bunch sprinter, but he always does well in those reduced finishes. Because he scored really well in the French Cup races last year. That's where he was like behind Paul Penouet somewhere.
Yeah.
So again, it's just, is it 10? Yeah, 10 just feels too expensive.
I think Garcia Cortina at 10 is a deal. It's a good deal. He might not win, but he'll be sprinting and getting over the hills. I think he'll be competitive in these 4 stages.
Yeah. I
think I'll get him.
Yeah.
He's at 10.
I just think that these are the sprinters who are going to get you somewhere like 200, 250 points, something like that, aren't they? They're going to come 6th place
top
in
10 in like 3 to 4 stages.
Yeah, pick up like 70 points a sprint.
What? Yeah, that's why I think it's worth picking 2 or 3 of those 4s so that you can actually go up to your Ewans and Yateses and Alaphilippes, because I think getting the stage winners and then some fluff, with all due respect to the fluff, is my first draft had basically all the sprinters in it, and I just had Onley, my only GC rider. So I was obviously hoping he would come top 3 in those 2 GC stages. But if there's only 3 sprints and say they finish outside top 10 in one, or even if they finish top 5, like, it's just not worth it to have that many sprinters.
Yeah, I think talking about Onley, I do think that he is almost a necessity for teams in this race.
Well, have you seen his Strava?
Yeah, I honestly
feels like bait, but
it's all we have to go off.
Yeah,
I honestly think when you look at Polonia last year, I know Polonia, whatever, but he was in like 5th place in GC on very similar parkour to what is in this race. But then there was the TT, and then he's bad at TTing. So then he got slapped down to 12th place in GC. So it's not a truly representative GC performance. There's no TT here. And I think this terrain really suits Onley.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in terms of not necessarily essential picks, but in terms of a pick that it should make a lot of sense to pick, that's Onley. Even more so than Yates, I think. Because Oscar Onley is going to more than justify his price, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of people that I would like just for the fun of it, but can't fit them in, it's Alaphilippe.
Yeah,
because he's justifiably really expensive, but every stage he potentially does well in, Simon Yates wins. So
Yeah.
it's I don't think it's worth it at 20. I mean, it might be worth it if you need an extra 4 credits. You go down from Yates to Alaphilippe, but the Alaphilippe is in his contract year as well. So he's either he's got leadership potentially for well, he will have leadership rather. So whether he treats that as I'm now going to smash this and win a race and prove that I'm going to stay, or he's in that last year of his contract type thing where he's like, well, I'll ride through. I'll sort of be a senior figure in the team, looking after the new guys on the team, and then it will go off to Total Energy or something next year. But yeah, I'm just not feeling Alaphilippe for this one.
I think my thing with Alaphilippe is he's like you say, he's in a contract here. Stuff needs to go right here, and has he? He's no way he's just been sent here as some punishment. Like he wants to.
No. Well, you say well, yeah. There was a quote from Lefebvre where he said he's going to send Alaphilippe. Well, they've agreed they're sending Alaphilippe to the Giro because it suits his riding style more, and he can't be expected to work for Remco, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But it does mean he'll be sent to these. He'll go to these. Well, smaller but still World Tour races, and I mean, effectively, it's free if he can finish on the podium. That's like 3 points for Quick Step in terms of the rankings and stuff. Yeah, I don't think we'd never actually seen. I think actually no, we have seen once. I think he did. I think I checked before. He did TDU once before in his career, and it was his first. I think it was when he turned pro. I have to double check that now. I'm pretty sure he's only done it once before. He never usually starts his season until like spring, or is it spring? Yeah, it's like Strada or something. It's like his first race of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, he does the those French.
What do you guys think of Simon
French
Clark?
one days?
Simon Clark, domestique.
Well, when you've got 3 better climbers and a sprinter, he's relegated to domestique. If he has an attacking role, like because he's in terms of rider profile, he's similar to well, not massively similar, but in terms of punchy. So he would be good for potentially a stage 2 if there was an attacking group going over those climbs. But when you've got Stevie Williams and George Bennett and everyone, I don't think he's going to be let off the leash.
But he's Australian, and I think it's his last season.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another. Yeah. I mean, there's quite a lot of other than Boivin on that team who you'd say is definitely a pure domestique. You've got G, Schultz. Like they've got 6 cards there that they can play, whether it's for GC or stages. I think at one point I had 2 or 3 of the Premier Tech riders in, just because I thought, well, I had Strong, I had Stevie Williams, and then I was trying to get Clark in, and I thought it's almost too many of them. It's like when Quick Step have like 7 options. It's like there's too many.
Yeah, I think my opinion is, why would I go with Clark when I can get Del Toro?
Yeah,
I just think that. Let's talk about, that's my opinion on it, but I want to talk about Del Toro because he's the enigma in all this, isn't he? Like when we're talking to George, we don't know what he's going to do. We don't know if he's going to be leader. We just simply don't know. But like I said in my last video, the last time I was told by UAE Team Emirates that the leader's an Italian and the obscure young gun wasn't really going to do much and he's just here for experience, was the Vuelta where Pogacar was 12 credits and he finished 3rd. So I just don't believe that he's just going to be taken as sideline, especially considering that crit, which I don't want to read too much into, but for 8 credits for like a quote unquote maybe generational talent, you'll look back maybe in years when Del Toro's 18 credits and think, gosh, do you remember when he was 8 credits at the Tour Down Under? It feels like one of them. I feel like it's quite low risk to put Del Toro on your team.
Yeah, but I think even UAE, they don't know what to expect with these 3. I think Fisher Black, Del Toro, and Mogadul. I think they break even like free roll, let the best win. So
Well, the other thing is, if he
it's their
does win
first
it,
race,
he's
it's their
going to
first race,
go.
we don't
The
know
hype
how
train's
to.
going to go sky high. Like if he does win,
Yeah.
not saying. Well, I'm not saying that Yates would have to be off necessarily, because Yates could, not be going for GC for some reason. But it is an exciting pick. I just don't know if I can fit him in at 8.
Yeah.
And it's the first race of the season, so we don't know anyone's form as well, how they're going.
Yeah.
But I've done my provisional, and even I started and saying no way, I'm taking Yates. I think I can fit him in. Yeah,
I think
because we
I
don't
just
have
don't
any
know who I
like any
downgrade
other
though, because you've
expensive
either got to
option.
go up from the bargain bucket, the bargain basement riders, or you've got to come down from the sprinters. So it's quite a.
Yeah.
You've got to ditch someone somewhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, I may end up having to ditch a sprinter for him, to be honest.
Yeah. I'll swap my team around to show you what my thinking is. So previously, if you watched my first video, my team was something along the lines of this, where I would then have 2 4-pointers on that. I think I had something like Hill Helders and Vergalito. So I had that, right, as my first team. Now my thinking is Yates, okay, he wins Willunga Hill. Maybe he wins Lofty, like you say, Dan. Maybe it's a 50-50. He needs to really make a group work on stage 2 to really be worthwhile. Now, what's better? Is it Simon Yates, George Bennett, and 2 4-pointers, or do I go with like maybe a not as good but still okay GC prospect like Milan Varda or whoever you want to choose? I can then also get Corbin Strong for versatile sprints. I can get Binny for good versatile sprints, and I can get an 8-credit sprinter or whoever in there as well. Say McClay. So it's kind of like, what's better? It's
I
always
think if you're going all in on the Yates strategy, and there's it kind of all has to go right for you. Whereas I think if I'd rather have, let's say, 2 or 3 who could finish top 5, and then guys who are competitive, 1, potentially 2, 3, 4. I mean, that's kind of I'll tell you my team at the moment rather than sharing it. Got Yates, Bauhaus, Welsford, Viviani, Strong, Rootkin Gray, Ryan, Ballasted, and Onley. So even though I've got those 3 really cheap ones, it means I can have the GC favourite plus at least 2 favourites for each of the sprints, and then Onley is like a wild card GC guy, and then the Ballasted, Archie Ryan, and Jack Rootkin Gray can just do whatever they want basically, and they could probably just score 20 points from a breakaway, and it probably doesn't mean much.
Yeah, before credit was always with the pick the Australian national team rider who's probably going to go the break and hope for the best.
Could really do with the Aussie national team telling us who's going to go in the breakaway.
Yeah, literally. I remember it was like Jared Drisners a few years ago who was got like 120.
That was before he went to Lotto, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was the year he was on Lotto? Yeah.
I think he got like under 23 the title that year, and I was just like, he's going in immediately.
Yeah, I feel like with looking at your team at the moment, the likes of Gurmai, even though they're 12, it's a good pick because at least then you've got an option in four of the sprints, even if only 3 of them are big bunch ones, because that second one.
Yeah.
But also looking at teams with fewer options, I feel like, because it's IPT I like the look of, but I just feel there's too many options. Whereas you look at you look at Jayco and it's like definitely these riders doing this.
Yeah.
So keeping it definite, I suppose. You know what people are going to do. Like Dan McClay at 8, I think is excellent for the reason that Archaea only have 1 sprinter at the race.
Yeah. I just think when I made this team on screen, I just thought that looks like a fantasy team. It's not. It's got no fluff in that. It's all like everybody's a name, and who's and part of me kind of likes that, even if it's not necessarily the winner. Like, there's no reason why that couldn't be the winning team. But there's also no reason why the team which I had with Yates on the screen couldn't be the winning team. But there's something about, I remember I alluded to it in my video, but I did quite a bit of calculating at the end of last year to try and figure out stage races. And for some reason, it is always those 10 and 12 credit riders who are the best value for money. Always. Like it wasn't just one stage race, it was all the time. 10 and 12 credit riders just do better, because to be worthwhile, they need to hit like 350 points. Now, Oscar Onley, if he does well on 2 stages and then finishes top 5 GC, immediately worthwhile. More
I think
than
you're
worthwhile.
talking me out of Yates now.
Well, no, because if Yates, but then the other thing which I calculated was that you needed to have the winner.
Okay.
Like the winner is, it seems really stupid to say, but to win the competition, you need the guy who wins because he scores the most points. It's not like a Grand Tour where you get lots of time to calculate best value for money. It's more just about, it's a short race and you just need points.
Yeah, well, that's where I messed up. Was it Algarve? Was it Algarve last year that Vingegaard won like 3 or 4 stages?
No, that was Basque Country, I think.
At Basque Country, I didn't want to pick him because I think he was 26 credits as well, or 28. But then, so I picked all the midfield basically. But because Vingegaard won every single stage that was hilly basically, and it was just, I'd scored well, but I was just nowhere in the rankings because I didn't have Vingegaard.
Yeah, exactly. But then Vingegaard sort of, is Simon Yates on the same level here as Vingegaard is at the Basque Country?
In terms of the percentage of wins he could get, he's pretty similar.
Yeah. But do you think that Yates is like categorically
it will hurt to begin with. It will hurt to begin with because it's like Tirreno when you have all those sprint stages and then the mountain stages at the end. Like, there's no point looking at your rank for the first like 3 or 4 days. But after at the end, I think Yates will be worth it for the fact that he'll have won. Well, you say that. If he comes like, if Jayco do a really annoying team tactics thing and he wins on Wollonga Hill and it's like, I don't know, 30 seconds back to second, then, you know, Harper might go, oh, I'm going to go for a stage win at Lofty, or Plapp might go, oh, I'm going to do that as well. So it's into team dynamics to consider potentially. Obviously, I say that. If Yates has only got 30 seconds, maybe they don't do that.
Alaphilippe is definitely a question mark in my team. Could Alaphilippe, because Quickstep don't really have anybody, he'll be that guy for stage 2.
Quickstep's sort of, not disrespecting them necessarily, but they're sort of C team. So they've got like 1 big name or 2 big names rather than their classics teams, which were always stacked. I feel like I'm a bit hesitant on. And I think you can save 8 credits and fill out the team, not fill it out more necessarily because it already looks pretty good. But Alaphilippe to like Welsford, I feel like home race, a new team, wants to hit the ground running. I feel like Welsford could even get double the score of Alaphilippe, to be honest.
Yeah. So would you go the team? Say I take Alaphilippe out and I put Welsford in.
Yeah.
But I'm like, where do I put my 8?
Well, you see, now we're getting into the territory of you don't have to spend all 100 credits.
But then do I just go definitely Caleb Ewan over McClay?
Oh, you didn't? Oh, yeah. Well, that makes 100. There you go. You have the 2 best sprinters in the race. You've got 2 versatile sprinters.
We've got what? I'd say Varda is a GC.
Varda, Onley, Del Toro, Ryan. That's decent. That's 4 GC guys.
And then you got Corbin, Strong, Viviani, Welsford, Gamone. I might just keep it as this.
Yeah, I think that looks pretty good.
I mean, like you say, you got the best sprinters in the race, so you're definitely covered for 4 stages of 6. Like, you're probably going to be waking up in the morning and feeling happy, aren't you? You're probably going to have the winner immediately.
Well, that's the other problem with this race is not problem. The geographical problem of this race is you wake up and unless you're going to wake up really early in the morning and watch it, you're going to either be really happy or really annoyed in the morning. when you see the result.
Ruined or made. Irfan, what do you think of Alaphilippe? Worthwhile or not?
I think yes, because when you look at it, the positive, he's in contract here. He's going to, his season he will have his chance up to the Giro. So he's not going to the Tour. He doesn't. Most probably he might not even be in the Olympic team. So he wants to get his contract now ready and secured. And he's the leader here. He's the best rider, so he's gonna give everything for the first 3 or 4 months, get his contract secured, and that's it. But but when I look at today's stage, the Willunga Hill is longer than I thought. So the way like Cecily completely blew up, I wasn't expecting it. Like when Sarah Gigante went, she followed, but after 1 kilometer she blew up. So and that's the question mark. Otherwise, I would have seen Alaphilippe being very comfortable with it.
Willunga Hill, it's not. It's 3.4 kilometers. So that feels like that's pretty close to prime Alaphilippe territory because it's punchy. It's just, he could well be worth it anyway, regardless of where he finishes on that stage. I just feel he has to be top 3 to be worth it. But I feel like Yates is way more likely to just win.
Tempted or no?
Well, Jumbo, Visma's team is pretty interesting because they've brought the dev team basically, but the dev team that's been moved up to the pro team. So I really like Staunamitter as a. Well, I think I'm not sure he's got the climbing potential at World Tour to. Not win. Obviously, he's not going to win, but potentially top 10, top 20 on Willunga Hill, maybe. But I think he's more of a classics guy. The one I actually really like and did have in my team for a bit was Mick Van Dijk, Mick Van Dijker, however we're saying it, because he's a sprinter, or at least a strong guy, and at 6, I think that's pretty good value. I'm not sure he's necessarily good for a World Tour sprint, but on a messy sprint he could be.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to see Leah Hayter do something after being so good at under 23. Like, we forget how good his 2022 season was, but because of the fact that he didn't really do much last year, I'm really scared to pick him.
Again, he's someone that we know he's an excellent time trialist, but we don't know much else other than he won. Did he win Baby Giro or came? He did really well at the Baby Giro, didn't he?
Yeah, he won that, and he's a great time trialist.
So he's probably likely to be a GC rider. I'm just not sure he'll get to show it here.
One rider I think we haven't talked about, and Luke Plapp.
I generally don't like picking riders who have proven that they don't do anything here. Because he won the Nationals last year, and then I think I checked it today. I think he came 50th overall and did absolutely nothing. Now he might have been ill, or he might have been, obviously he was on Ineos, so he might have been working, but we know he can be really good because he came 2nd at UAE Tour last year. But that was obviously a really long, consistent climb. I just think when you've got Yates there and Chris Harper, and there's no time trial, I don't see that. I mean, he might be someone that he might just be massively overpriced. I might have picked him if he was 8, but I can't pick someone who's 16 and is that inconsistent.
Yeah, it's really weird. When I did all my calculating at the end of last year, 18 credit riders, bad.
For some reason, I always steer away from 18 credit riders. I think it was Landa at a race last year. I swear it was 18. I was just I can't. For some reason, I can't pick 18 credit riders.
They're this weird mix of they really need to perform well, but they also have this seemingly quite big risk of doing quite badly and being some of the worst points per credit riders that are in the race. Plapp is just too.
I think Mass sometimes falls into that bracket in Grand Tours as well, where it could be absolutely anything.
Yeah. So Plapp, I can understand people wanting to pick Plapp because he holds all this promise and he is the Australian champion, but I arguably found Harper's performance at the National Road Race more impressive than Plapp's because of the step up that Harper seems to have made. That's just
I agree with that. Harper is a better option than Plapp.
Yeah, I think Harper seems to have less risk about him, and he could be that guy who's picked by 3% of people, but he somehow finishes quite well on GC. But we've mentioned other 12 credit riders who are probably better. Going with sprinters is probably a safer choice than banking on GC riders maybe doing well based upon team dynamics. Sometimes people get a bit too obsessed with thinking about, oh, I need this many GC riders or I need this many sprinters because of the stages, but actually you need to just be thinking about who is going to score the most points.
Yeah, who's going to win? Yeah,
it's very easy to be like, oh, but I've only got 3 GC riders. It's like, it doesn't matter, because if you just, of the 14 credit riders, like, oh, I want Guerrero actually because of the prospect that he might do well in GC. It's like, yeah, but at the end of it, it doesn't matter, because if Bauhaus outscores him, it doesn't matter what your GC to sprinter ratio is.
No.
It's just about point scoring, and I think sometimes it's quite easy to lose sight of that. And we could go on forever and ever and ever talking about this.
Do another hour.
we are going to try to keep this to an hour, so I'll just round up and say people can get involved in the comment section as they always do. People just feel free to put what you're thinking in terms of teams, what we've said, Yates versus no Yates, how many sprinters, how many GC riders, the best credit rider in the is Archie Ryan the best 4 credit rider, is he not? Be sure to put it all in the comments section down below, and yeah, we will speak to you in the next episode, which will be for the Etoile de Bessèges, I believe is the next one of the warm-up series. So be sure to subscribe and come back for more long format content from the Ow Do Velogames podcast.